Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 1st, 2021 at approximately 8:29 a.m. PST. Well, sorry about missing. I think I missed yesterday. Pretty certain I missed yesterday, but in any event, I did get a new computer, which is why things sound a little differently. It's also why my entire back wall has changed, because I used to sit over there. Okay, but over there is where I've got my painting desk set up now. And of course, my figures are all moved around. I've still got some of them accessible here. Okay, just little figures. I still keep some of them handy. Well, more to the point, they're there because they're out of the way. But the reality is, I just had the old computer completely replaced. There's a brand new system. I don't know if it's state-of-the-art. I do know it's brand new. Right, it's got, if I recall correctly, number one, it's got a 2 terabyte hard drive. It's got 12 gig of RAM. I have cut my monitors down. I've only got the laptop monitor itself and the one above me now, but the one above me is a 31-inch monitor. I think it's 31 anyway. But I was asked to take a look at how to deal with stress, anxiety, how to cope with it. So let's start off with the obvious. Okay, first and foremost, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Absolutely subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring the alert bell to let you know when the next one comes out. This is a new day, a new month, and that said, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Now, I've been going through a lot of files and what have you. I decided I've had a lot of hiccups and what have you, much like you have. Okay, talk about a lot of what have yous and okays. Anyway, the reality is this. I was asked to take a look at how to deal with anxiety and stress. As I explained just a couple of days ago, I suffer from it myself on occasion. Now, let's get the first thing out of the way. Okay. First and foremost, no matter who gives you what tool, if you don't actually put the tools to work, they're not going to work for you. Now, I like the way Wayne Gretzky put it, okay, where he said that you may miss 95% of the shots you take, but you will miss 100% of the ones you don't take. With this in mind, the tools that I offer, the tools that the whole message I came back to return, that I returned to pass on to you, to the entire world in all fairness, is first and foremost, working together, we can make this a better world. Okay, regardless of what your background is, where it comes to anxiety, okay, where this, again, is a question of working together. Okay, now, you've got your own stresses, your own anxieties, and what have you. And I can't tell you exactly what your stresses are unless you end up contacting me and pointing them out. Okay, or at least asking. You may not even know what they are. But I've been consulting people since I was 10. Professionally since 1986. So we're looking at 35 years and then some of doing this work. Now, that said, the biggest thing that I've got to point out, one of the things people use quite often to avoid stress, to cope with stress, and that's what they call it. Okay, you may be one of these people, and that's turning to alcohol or drugs. I will tell you right off the bat, the thing with alcohol is this. Now, I used to drink a 26er a night. Okay, I never even blinked doing it. But here's the problem with using alcohol as a method of coping with your stress. Alcohol, what it does is knocks out your learned and trained inhibitors, meaning it takes out your coping mechanisms. Not alcohol, coffee. So alcohol is not the best way to do it. Okay, now the best of what I use when I'm feeling really stressed is I find the fastest paced dance music possible that I can. I crank it as high as socially acceptable and let it run in the background. Now, for me, that's not necessarily that high. It's not always a case of as high as socially acceptable. Turn it as high as you can comfortably listen to it, providing that falls under the socially acceptable side. You let that increased music run. By doing that, what you'll find is it does bring the stress down. And it has to do with the auditory impact. Okay, in more complex terms, it has to do with the subquantum emanations caused by auditory fluctuation. Net result, it physically alters the way your brain is working. Net result, your stress level comes down. Now, that is only one of the techniques. That's only one of the things. I do that so while I'm writing, while I'm working away, I've got that running in the background so I don't have to worry about it. It helps me bring the stress down. The other thing that you will find really helps is, and it boils down to that funny little thing called the list that I keep talking about. Now, this, again, don't expect to read it. I keep them handy because, well, I keep adding to them. Now, the neat part about it, one of the questions that would be wise to ask yourself, when you're getting stressed out about something, ask yourself one question. Do I have any direct control over that stress? If the answer is yes, then the logical thing to do is do something about it. For instance, if you're getting stressed out because you don't have coffee, okay, solution, get up and go get some. Okay, or if you're not physically capable of getting up and going and getting it, ask somebody to do so for you. Okay, the reality is mobility. If you get mobile, if you're stressed out and you're sitting still, you'll find your stress stays high. Okay, in all likelihood. So getting up, going for a walk, even if that walk is just moving around in the house, okay, it doesn't matter. Moving will help you bring your stress and anxiety levels down. The reality is, as much as you can sit there and worry, when you physically move, it actually burns off the energy that you're using to worry. Net result, the stress drops. Okay, now again, this also ties in with that issue of feng shui. Now, of course, now that I'm sitting at this table, I'm looking behind me and you'll notice I've moved all the figures are gone. All the figures now are way over on that side on my desk where I can get at them for painting. But again, it has taken the energy from my office and shifted it drastically. Okay. Oh yes, I haven't checked in the last day or two, but I am happy to point out this is a funny little thing that I use to check whether my methods are working on me, aka blood pressure. Nice to say, 6 months ago, my blood pressure was up at 180 plus. It is now down into a normal range. I forget right offhand what it is. I just checked it a couple of days ago. But it's staying down at a functional range. When you're dealing with anxiety, when you're dealing with stress, okay, I love the idea that meditation works. And technically it does. The reason meditation with yoga works is because of the physical work. When you're meditating, when you're thinking about what the problem is, in all fairness, if you're doing nothing about it, what you're doing is feeding fuel, adding fuel to the fire. It's kind of like trying to put a fire out with kerosene. Not a good idea. Although it's worse to try and put it out with gasoline. So, getting physically mobile will help bring your stress down. I do not like that. Oh, apparently my arm's loose. When you're stressed out, take a break from whatever you're doing. Go for a short walk. Okay. Now, that's if it's possible. Remember, going for a short walk does not mean that you have to go miles out in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes, like for me, I can walk down to the end of my hall. Like and because I'm in an apartment, I can go for a walk down to the lobby just to take a minute to get my brain settled, go and check the mail, and come back, get back to whatever I'm doing. Self-imposed stress is often caused by setting goals for yourself that are too high, okay, that are essentially unrealistic. Now, let's be clear. When we're talking about unrealistic goals, okay, let's try this one. Now, right now, let's just call up a file for myself. Let's see, book 10, where is it? Is that book 10? Yes. Okay, now, book 10. Book 10 is The Birth of the Wolf Pack. I'm going to be going through it and pulling all the information off of it to put towards a compendium, which comes out way down the road. But here's an unrealistic goal. That book is 392 pages long. Okay, now, unrealistic would be for me to sit down and say, I'm going to do that and pull all the information out in one day. It's not going to happen. I would get stressed out. So what I've done is gone, okay, I'm going to go through. I worked it out yesterday. I'm going to be going through 4 pages a day. This means in just over 3 months, before the end of this year, I will have gone through that entire book and pulled all the information out for the compendium. Okay, now 4 pages a day is realistic. Okay, 400 pages in one day is not. Unless you're like some people I know that can read that fast. Okay, I know of one individual that quite literally can read as fast as he can turn the pages, and it's not so much that he just reads it. He will remember page numbers and book titles for everything he's read. Okay, now my mind does not work that quick. But one of the tricks to dealing with with self-imposed anxiety is to set your goals at a reasonable level. And that's where that list comes in. Okay, when you put a list together of smaller tasks, half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour, that will help bring the stress down. Okay, that way you can see the progress. Okay, forget who it was. I think it was Plato that said, never discourage somebody who is moving forward, no matter how slowly they are moving. So if you're out there doing whatever, if you've got a goal and you're striving to get it done, give yourself a decent deadline. Now, for me, I've got 2 major deadlines. I've got a couple more I've got to work out. But when you set the goals at a reasonable level, and we are talking strictly about self-imposed stress right now, you set a goal for yourself and go, this is what I desire to accomplish. Then you set about going and doing it, one step at a time. The better you plan, the better off, the easier it is to accomplish. Now, in the construction industry, they mention it as measure twice, cut once. Well, it's the same idea with planning. Plan things out, do your thinking properly, take your time, then get started on it. Okay, and that applies to everything. Now, some of you are trying to start a new business, okay, or you're striving to get back into a hobby that you left behind. And now you've got yourself all wound up and gone, well, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be able to make it happen? And here's the thing. Ask yourself, first and foremost, number one, who am I doing it for? Am I doing this project for everybody else, or am I doing it for me? Now, I've got a major project on this series. I am doing that for me. Yes, I am putting it up for sale for other people to enjoy. But the reality is, I'm doing it to get the whole story out for me. Which boils down to about a 10-year project. Rough guess, 10 to 12, it might be 15. Okay, but this is why I'm planning it out step at a time. Now, when you're starting a project, striving to get back into it, and you haven't taken the time to plan it, you may well find that you feel like you're spinning your wheels. That's where planning comes in. And yes, I've got an open window beside me here. That's where planning comes in. Okay, the better planned you have things out, the more smoothly things will happen, the lower your anxiety gets. Now, something else that can help immensely is different scents have been proven to bring down stress. Now, of course, the reason I don't go into exactly which scents is because for some people, some scents work. For other people, they won't. Like, for instance, for me, I like the smell of pine. My older brother, who has now passed away, was allergic to pine. So this would not have been a relaxing scent. Okay, but scented candles, or like at Christmas time, what I do is I take apple juice, put it on the stove, throw in a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a dozen cloves, and I put it on low heat. I just let it sit there and cook. Now, I will tell you, the scent that gives off does help relax things in the house. But that's in my house. The scents can work. It sounds, like I said, dance music is really good for bringing energy levels up. Okay. Now, where it comes to societally imposed stress, that's where you really have to ask yourself, number one, do you have any control over it? Okay, and if you don't, then you have to redirect your thinking. One of the biggest things I find with people that stresses a lot of people out is they're in such a hurry to get to places that they get very stressed out while they're traveling. And that can be traveling just to the grocery store. Okay, the trick with that is give yourself a little more time. Remember, where it comes to driving is a privilege. It is not a right. Okay, but you give yourself a little bit more time to get there easily, because you know that people are out there that are going to do really stupid things. Okay, so again, it comes down to planning your trip. If you've got 3 or 4 places to go, plan the trip. Plan the journey you're going to take. Okay, as the saying goes, people do not plan to fail. They fail to plan. Okay, and with that in mind, the more organized you are, the more organized the energy in your house is, the easier it's going to be for you to relax. Now, do I recommend physical exercise for people? Absolutely. But let's be realistic. Do I look like I'm really a bodybuilder or anything to that effect? Probably not. And this is just one of those live things that I have to deal with. Actually, technically, I don't have to. But since it doesn't take a lot of work for me, the way I look at it, and that's all that was, it's just a program I've got running. Now, I keep telling people I get stressed out about technology, and I do. However, on the plus side, I have now got, with everything that's going on, I'm down to one computer that is working beautifully, thanks very much to the people that got it working. Okay, in this case, and there are, I thought about it, and there are people that have good experiences with companies and people that have bad experiences with the same companies. For me, Staples has worked really well where it comes to dealing with my computer work. Now, sure, some people will say, well, you're paying too much. Trust me, when you don't know how to deal with computers, it's not a question of paying too much. It's a question of killing off the stress. And if you've got something that stresses you out when you're trying to do it, definitely get somebody else that has proven trustworthy and has experience doing it. Get them to deal with it. Okay. But the more you plan, the better off you are. Now, see, this is something else. Oh, I moved it out of here. Something that should be right close by. if you get, and when I said exercise, okay, even if you're working at a computer for a long time, one of the biggest things to deal with there, and it will help you relax, is at least once an hour, get up and take a 2 or 3 minute walk. I mean, periodically get up and move. Okay. Again, physical movement does help bring anxiety down, does help bring stress down. But it's up to you to make that happen. Okay, I can tell you this works because, well, frankly, that's how I live. This is why when I had my last major heart attack, which was back in 2013, okay, I walked out of the hospital without medication in 24 hours. When I had my stroke in 2018, I was only 2 days from not being able to walk to being able to walk and talk. Net result, I was out of the hospital after only 6 days in the hospital, and I had 1 day pass in the middle of that. This is why I say my methods for dealing with stress for me have proven very, very beneficial. Very important to watch what you're eating, because some foods will make some people edgy. Okay, so watch your diet. Okay, and I will tell you this, and I am not a medical doctor, but logic does seem to fail a lot of people. Okay, so when you're dealing with one of the things that you got to look at, some of you are getting really stressed out because you're having trouble dropping weight. Well, I've watched some videos recently where consistently so-called medical professionals are going, look, the old method of don't eat as much and you'll drop weight. And they go, that doesn't work. Well, I'd like to know if they want a backhoe or a shovel will work, because that's a load. It is simple mathematics. If you're putting less food into your system than what you're burning, you're going to drop weight. Now, the reality of it is that you've got to make certain that when you're doing that you're keeping your weight, that you're eating properly. Okay. Now, I will tell you, the other thing I've seen people do that doesn't work worth a hoot, okay, is some people, they get stressed out and they'll pop their knuckles. Well, there are ways to crack your knuckles safely. I'm not going to show them to you on video. Okay, but the people that take the knuckles and they grab them like this and they crush them, I'm not about to pop mine because, well, they don't need it. But what that does, it tears the tendons, and that's why many people, not all people, but many people that do that end up with their hands really balled up and really tight at the end of their life, because they've stretched all the ligaments and they don't work anymore, or they've worn down the padding and what have you. Okay, but something that can, instead of cracking knuckles, okay, or wringing your hands, get a semi-soft ball. Now, if you don't have a soft ball, like a rubber ball, even a rag like this that you can just squeeze will help. Again, oddly enough, that is actually physical movement. But a simple face cloth will work fine. Okay, if you don't have a ball, don't worry about it. Okay, a face cloth works really well. It's kind of like this. Okay, I was going to say get a set of weights. Well, here's the neat thing. Something like this. You can sit there playing with it, and just this sort of thing. Now, that, needless to say, and when I said I don't really have a real healthy diet, that's just Chef Boyardee spaghetti. Is it edible? Yeah. Is it good for you? Clearly not. I was always told when you're going to eat something, make sure if you cannot pronounce it, don't eat it. Well, that's a cute thought. Unfortunately, I'm able to pronounce a lot of things that I probably shouldn't be able to. But again, this sort of thing with a little bit of weight in your hand will burn off a little bit of energy, and is a mild way of helping you cope with stress, anxiety, that sort of thing. Now, I've seen some people that will, and you only do this if you've got a safe place you can do it. Okay. But some people will take a dartboard and put it up, and they will throw darts, and they'll throw darts to just relieve stress. Okay, but they throw them at a dartboard, not at anybody else. Okay, and hopefully I don't actually have to tell you that. But these are just some of the tools that I work with. Okay, now the reality of it is this. Okay, those are methods that I personally use. When it comes to the things that you don't agree with that society is doing, ask yourself, is there anything I can do to work with that, to deal with it, that does not break karmic law? In other words, the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, whatever you're looking at doing, make sure you follow those 3 laws. And of course, obviously, inside of that, if there is a law posted, follow that law, because quite frankly, whether you agree with it or not, the hassle of not following it or the expense is a little out of my range, if you will. Like the primary reason I wear a seatbelt is because of the fact I can't afford the fine not to. Okay, but the reality of it is, I don't trust seatbelts any more than I trust no seatbelt. Okay, I know what can happen. Okay, but when it comes to dealing with stress, with anxiety, it's a question of doing something proactive to deal with it. Plan what you're aiming at doing. And I'm just going to make a note for myself here for tomorrow. Okay, because what I'm going to look at tomorrow is how to get restarted on an old project that you did. Okay, on an old project you were working on. How do you pick up if you've left it sit for a long time? How do you pick up and where do you go from there? I will deal with that tomorrow. Okay, now, again, give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Do subscribe to our channel, because my one goal, and I need your help to attain it, is to get this message out to everybody on the world that we can make this a better world if we choose to work together. Okay, with that in mind, I keep these down to the 30-minute mark, so roughly. So I'm going to let you go until tomorrow. I'll be back sometime then. Okay, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that little alert bell. Okay, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other,